Good day, guys. Today we will be discussing the fourth lesson in object-oriented programming, which is iteration statements. For the iteration statements, our lesson objectives are as follows. At the end of the lesson, we should be able to understand the use of iteration statement in Java programming, to be specific, and then of course, learn how to use this iteration in solving real problems. Now, for the iteration statements in Java, there are three, or most commonly there are three iteration statements. Those are for, while, and the do while statements. These statements create loops. A loop is repeatedly executes the same set of instructions until a termination condition is met. Later on, we will discuss more of those. In addition to that, loops can execute a block of code as long as a specified condition is reached. Loops are handy, or why do we need this? Because it saves time, reduced errors, and they make code more readable. The first loop that we will be discussing is the Java for loop. When you know exactly how many times you want to loop through a block of code, use the for loop instead of a while loop. Let me tell you about the syntax of for loop. For keyword, then inside the arguments are three statements. What are those three statements? The first statement is executed before the execution of the code of blocks. Now, so yun na sa loob ng for loop mo, those are your code of blocks to be executed kapag nagtutrue yung condition, which is usually found on statement number 2. For the second statement, it defines the condition for executing the block of code. And then lastly, it is executed every time after the code of block has been executed already. Usually, sa statement 3, dito nakikita yung incrementation or decrementation of your statement number 1 para mag-loop through yung iyong for. So, let's take a look on the example of using Java for loop. Now, in this example, we initialized a variable I with a 0 value, and then our condition, which is the second statement, comparing I if it's still less than 5. And then the third statement, to increment the value of I after the code of statement or the code of blocks has been executed. So, for this matter, yung ating I in our initial value is actually 0. So, therefore, let me explain to you this further, okay. Try ko muna siya. So, i-analyze natin kung paano nag-work yung for loop. So, for example, andito yung ating value ng I, Value of I, and then dito natin ilalagay yung result or condition, and then dito sa third column yung output. Alright. So, ang value ng I natin at first is equals to 0, no? Now, itong 0 na to, yung condition natin, which is the second statement, kino-compare natin yung value na 0 if it's still less than 5. So, since this will return true value, yung condition natin will be true. Therefore, gagawin niya yung block of code which is to print I. Ano ba yung value ng I natin? So, ang value ng I natin is 0. Kaya, ipiprint niya yung 0. Then, gagawin niya is mag-a-add siya ng plus 1 doon sa value ng I. So, si I magiging 1 this time. Ko-compare ulit yun kay 5. Magiging true yung condition natin. Therefore, ipiprint ulit natin or ni compiler yung value ng I. This time, ang value ng I 1. Mag-a-add ulit tayo ng plus 1 dun sa value ng I, kaya si I natin is magiging 2. So, kung compare ulit siya, if it's still less than 5, it will once again return a true value. And then, ipiprint niya ulit yung value ng I, which is 2. And then, yung ating I, mag-increment ulit ng 1, so magiging 3 ito. So, kung-compare ulit siya dun sa second statement natin, I is less than 5. So, nagiging true pa rin dahil less than yung 3 less than 5 naman talaga. So, ito-print uli yung value ni I. This time, 3 na yung value ni I. Mag-a-add ulit tayo ng 1 at magiging 4 po yung value ng I natin. Again, i-compare po ito kay number 5 at magiging true ulit yung magiging condition. So, this time, ito-print na yung value ni I, which is 4, at mag-a-add ulit dito ng plus 1 yung ating loop. So, dito magiging 5 na yung value ng I natin. Iko-compare din siya if it's less than 5. Now, as you notice, yung 5 is already equals to 5. Therefore, if we uses this operator, 5 is less than 5, hindi na po magiging true yung condition, magiging false na kasi equals na yung 5 sa isa't isa. So, therefore, since false na yung ating condition, ito-terminate na ngayon ni compiler yung for loop mo, so hindi na niya gagawin yung code of block. The final outcome is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's the one that you can see on the screen. Okay. That's our first example. Let me show you another example using the for loop. Okay, it's almost the same except ang ating second condition is that kino-compare na si I less than or equal to 10. That's our condition. And then yung ating third statement is that instead of adding 1 to your I value, nagpa-plus na siya ngayon this time ng 2. So, kanina, kung plus 1 yung I natin, ngayon plus 2 na. So, therefore, ito yung magiging natin, analysis dun sa program natin. So, buburahin lang ulit natin to, no? Oh. Sorry. Start tayo dito sa part na to. Okay, so I is equals to 0. I is less than or equal to 10 this time. Yan yung condition natin. Dahil ang I natin is less than or equals to 10, magiging true ito. So, ang I natin initially, gagawin niya yung block of code. Initially, it's, what you call this, it's 1 or 0 rather, i-output niya si 0. Ngayon, magpa-plus tayo ng value na 2 kay 0, kaya yung I natin magiging 2. And then, compared to less than or equals to 10, true ulit ito. So, i-display niya na yung value ni I. This time, ang value ni I ay 2. So, 2 po yung magiging output niya. Mag-a-add ulit tayo ng 2 dito sa value ni number 2. So, 2 plus 2 is equals to 4. So, yung I natin magiging 4 equals to 10 or less than or equals to 10. Siyempre, true pa rin yan, obviously. Then, i-output niya uli yung value ng I, which is 4, at magpa-plus ka uli ng 2 dun sa value na yon. So, ang I is magiging 6 this time. Ko-compare ulit natin siya sa condition natin, less than or equals to 10. So, mag-generate ulit tayo ng sagot na true. Therefore, ipiprint niya yung value ng I, which is this time 6 na ito. So, since 6, madadagdagan na naman ng 2, kaya magiging 8 yung value niya. Compare ulit natin to sa condition natin. Magiging true ulit yung sagot. I-display niya ulit yung value ng 8 at magpa-plus 2 ulit tayo sa ating value. So, this time, ang value ng 8 is 10. Compare na natin siya sa condition which is less than or equal to 10 dahil syempre nakalagay po sa logical operator natin kasama na yung equal value. So, 10 is equals less than or equals to 10. Obviously, ang magiging sagot ay true. Now, this time, ipiprint niyo uli yung value ni 10 at yung loop mo mag-a-add uli ng plus 2 dun sa number 10 na value. So, this time, ang I mo is magiging 12 already. Iko-compare niya ngayon ito dito sa ating less than or equals to 10. And since ang magiging sagot nito ay false, mataterminate na ngayon yung for loop natin, which will also terminate the program that we have. So, technically, ang pinaka-final outcome po ng ating program na, second program rather, is 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So, that's our for loop condition. The next topic that we will discuss is using the Java for loop. For Java Java while loop rather. So for the while loop, this loops through a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. So technically, almost the same lang din naman siya with for loop. Kaya lang naiba na yung syntax niya on how to do it. So mas medyo nakakatipid ng line of codes using for. Ang while naman medyo mahaba ng konti. Konti lang naman yung difference niya. So, ang syntax ng ating while condition is this. Using the while keyword, inside the argument is the condition, and then inside the open and curly braces are the code of blocks to be executed kapag nagtutrue yung ating condition. This is the example of, an example rather of a while loop. So again, ito yung ating public class main, yung ating main function. Inside it, on the first, after the main function, nag-declare tayo and initialize ng value ni I, which is equals to 0. So as you can see, kanina, no, pabalik tayo dun sa for loop natin. So, yung initialization ni I, pwede mong gawin sa loob mismo ng for loop arguments mo. This time, ganito yung gagawin natin. Nasa labas siya ng while loop. So, dito, actually, pwede mo din naman siyang lagyan dito ng int I sa loob. But, nevertheless, yun ay tinatawag nating local declaration. So, ito ngayon, ang gagawin natin para yung I, mas kilala siya sa buong main function. Yung I natin is equals to 0, then while I is less than 5, ipiprint natin yung value ng I at mag-i-increment tayo ng value ng I na 1. So, katulad lang din ito, yung program natin na for loop kanina. Sa madaling salita, this is the equivalent while loop of the for loop example that we created a while ago, yung ating first example. So, again, ang magiging outcome nito is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Or sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 only. Kasi nga, hindi naman to naka-equals to 5. Kaya, ang ipiprint lang niya hanggang 4. Ito naman po yung ating Java do-while loop. For the Java do-while loop, it is used to iterate a part of the program repeatedly until the specified condition is true. So it's technically the same with other two looping controls such as for and while. Hanggang nagiging true yung condition natin, gagawin niya yung block of codes to be yung block of codes na nasa loob ng loop. And then, if the number of iteration is not fixed and you must have to execute the loop at least once, it is recommended to use a do-while loop. Ibig sabihin, kung hindi daw fix yung ating iteration, gusto mo munang gawin ng program mo yung block of codes ng isang beses, do-while loop ang gagamitin natin. Kasi ang nangyayari dito is, it is like this. Gawin mo muna itong code na to, and then, tsaka ako i-check kung true or false ba yung condition na gusto mong malaman. So, ibig sabihin, at first run, gagawin niya muna yung nasa loob ng do. And then, pag nagawa niya na yun, natapos na ni compiler, pupunta na siya sa while to check the condition if it's going to be true or false. Kapag true yung naging result ng condition, gagawin niya uli yung nasa loob nito. Kapag naging false, kaya niya i-end yung loop control. So, let me explain further yung Java do-while loop parts. The different parts are as follows. Number 1, the condition is an expression which is tested. If the condition is true, the loop body executed and control goes to the update expression. As soon as the condition becomes false, loops breaks automatically. Ito din naman yung in-explain ko kanina, no, in Tagalog terms. The update expression is every time the loop body is executed, then this expression increments or decrements the loop variable. So technically, if you will take a look at it, it's the same with the for and while loop, na iba lang yung kanyang way to be used. So, eto na yung ating example. Public class do while example, then public static void main string args. Nag-initialize tayo ng value ng I, which is 1. Dito, pinapaprint natin yung value ng I starting from 1. Remember ha, hindi tayo nag-start sa 0. Starting from 1, and then nag-increment tayo ng value, I++. So, every time na umiikot yung ating loop, nag-increment siya ng 1 sa I. Now, this time, gagawin daw yung ating loop hanggat true yung value ni I if it's less than or equals to 10. Therefore, yung magiging outcome natin is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's our Java do-while loop. Okay, as a summary, in this lesson, you learned different types of loops like for, while, and do-while. You also learned the difference between them and how they are applied in solving specific problems. So after this slide, I will be showing you a demonstration of Java for, while, and do-while loop using online compilers. So for this, I will be opening again, gamit na lang ulit tayo ng programs, no? For an online compiler. Okay, so for this one, gamit muna tayo ng, maglagay muna tayo ng, tawag doon, ng comments para sa magiging problem natin using the looping or iteration statements. So for example, ang problem ko, print natin daw, print the, let's say, print the value of x until it reaches 100. So, yung value ng x daw natin ay ipiprint until ma-reach na yung 100. Ito lang. Now, meron akong ilalagay dito na requirements, no? Hindi lang siya dito natatapos. Requirements. Print x only if sorry ha. Ang gusto ko kasing mangyari is ipiprint lang si x kapag ka ang kanyang value ay na hanggang, for example, 5, 10, 15, 20. So, meron siyang 5 increment from the number. So, mag-i-start ako from 5 to 95. Or sorry, to 100. So, ibig sabihin yung sequence niya is ganito yung example. 5, 10, 15, tapos, ang pinaka-last is 100. Okay, yan to. No. Ito yung ating pinaka-problem requirements. So, gagamit tayo ng for loop, while loop, and the do while loop for this example. So, ito na yung ating gagawin pa. After that, no, meron na tayong print x only if ang magiging basis natin is nag-increment siya from 5, nag-increment siya ng 5 ulit. So, ito ay close na natin yung comment ko. Okay, so, dito, palitan ko lang ito ng loop example class na nun. Loop example. Now, what we need to do first, syempre sabi ko nga, ipapakita ko yung iba't ibang dito, ipapakita ko yung iba't ibang version ng paggamit ng loop using for, while, and the do while loop. Now, sa loob natin ng ating main function, ang gusto kong mangyari is, para muna ito sa for loop. Okay, no? So, papaprint muna ako, label first. So, using for loop para mas madaling ma-indicate sa output kung ano-ano ba yung mga looping control na ginawa using this. Ito lang ha. Naba ko lang ito guys para makita niyo yung ilalim ko. Yan. Okay, so, using for loop muna tayo. The first thing that we need to do is to initialize, let's say magano muna tayo dito. Magawa muna pala ako ng value muna, no? Declare muna ako ng x. So, yun yung kaninang nilagay ko sa taas, no? Start tayo ng value ng x sa 5. So, ko sa 5 na mag-start para yung ating printout sa 5 din magsisimula. So, yung ating x, sorry, lagay ko lang dito. 0, x na lang dito. Kasi dito ako mag-aano pala. Sorry, ang gulo ko lang. Dito ko ilalagay yung value ng x na 5. At first, no? 5 at first. So, balik tayo sa ating condition. Ayan, simula sa 5. And then, i-compare natin si x using the condition x is less than or equal to 100. And then, dahil ang gusto natin mangyari, nag-increment siya by 5, instead na plus 2 or plus 0 or plus plus, ang gagamitin natin is x is equals to x plus 5 para 5 na agad yung increment niya. And then, magpapaprint out lang tayo ng value ni x with a space para hindi dikit-dikit yung ating magiging output. So, let's test our program kung siya ba ay mag-work ng tama. So, dahil wala namang error at tama yung condition natin, nag-start na tayo magpa-print ng value ni x from 5 to 100. The next thing that we will do is to create a while version of this for loop. Now, for the while loop, lagyan lang ako ng comment ha. So while loop naman tayo. Technically, same lang yung gagawin natin dito, detalye. At this time, dito sa taas kasi, yung value ni x natin naging 105 na. So, ang gagawin ko ngayon is ibabalik po sa 5 yung value niya. Okay? Now, dito kasi nag-for loop tayo dito. So, nag-increment tayo na nag-increment ng value ni I. So, ang pinakahuling value nito ay 105. So, ibabalik ko lang siya sa 5 para walang maging error dun sa ating program. So, yung while condition natin will be the same, katulad nitong nasa for loop. Hello anak, love you. Then, sa loob ng while loop, mangyayari yung block of codes na gusto natin gawin. Tulad nito, pa-print out. Okay, so the next thing that we will do, ito na, nakapagpa-print out na tayo ng ating x, tsaka yung space niya, para hindi dikit-dikit. Of course, dahil ang ating, what do you call that, ang ating incrementation ay hindi naganap sa loob nito, kasi yun yung format ng while, dito tayo maglalagay ng increment na plus 5. And then, ito na yung ating while loop. Okay, let's test this one. Okay, ano nangyari? Using for, sorry ha. Balik ako dito. Using for loop. Ito, hindi ako nakapaglagay ng introduction. Lagay tayo introduction. Using for loop. Okay. Ito using while loop. Okay. Ayan. Dali lang. Ayoko ng output ko. Sorry. Wait mo lang ako maglalagay ng new line. Okay. Yan. Using for loop, 5 to 100. Using while loop, 5 to 100 as well. Now, lastly, paano naman yung itsura ng ating do while loop this time, no? So, ito, copy ko na lang. This time, siya ay do while loop. And again, katulad kanina, ibabalik ko sa 5 yung value ng ating x. So, dito, i-edit ko lang yung ating mga label. Alright, sorry, I have to pause the video, no? Nagising yung baby ko. Oh, wait lang. Oo nga, ito magulo. So, ito, dito, no, gagawin natin muna yung do. Okay, do. Alright. Ipapa-print out muna natin yung ating ito. And then, dito yung while natin. So, ito, actually, the same lang to naman. Except na ito, na ang while natin nasa ilalim. So, gagawin muna natin. Tingnan natin kung tama yung ating representation ng ating program. Same thing lang siya. Magkakaiba lang ng will or ng paggamit ng loop. Pero the same thing, pwede natin gawin dun sa tatlo. So, yun ang ating iteration statements examples. I hope guys may natutunan kayo dito. And again, kung meron kayong questions regarding this, pwede kayong magtanong. So, dito pwede natin siyang gawin, di ba, na mas madali. Isa naman magpa-print tayo ng multiple lines ng 5 to 100 using looping controls. Okay, so guys, ayun, sorry, I have to pause the video, no? Hello anak, hello. So, ito na po, natapos na natin yung ating example using loop controls. Gamit ang for, while, and the do while. This time, ang gagawin natin is, I will be discussing to you yung pinaka-activity na gagawin ninyo in Java. Kailangan i-show ko sa inyo yung screen. Okay, so this is going to be the activity or second activity for object-oriented programming. So, you need to modify your first activity and apply the following requirements. Make sure, okay lang, parang hindi kita sa taas. Yun, make sure na magagamit nyo yung activity 2 as your class name, and then the following specifications must be met apply the iteration statements on this program. So technically, I'm talking about the for, while, or the do while loop. Kahit alin dun sa tatlo yung gusto yung gamitin nyo, as long as mapipili nyo yung tamang looping statements na dapat gamitin for this situation. So we have two situations below. Ang situations na yon, isa lang po yung gagawan nyo ng solusyon. Alin man dito sa dalawa, pipili kayo either A or B. What are those situations? For example, if you remember our first activity, no, ito yung pagpili ng menu, tapos i-display nyo yung napiling menu ni customer, kung magkano yung babayaran niya at yung sukli niya. Now, i-modify nyo lang yung program na yon, and isi-save nyo yan as activity 2. Now, part ng ating iteration solution is, kapag daw nag-enter si user ng invalid choice, yung program nyo should ask the user again to enter a correct input. So, for example, kung meron kayong A, B, C, or D na choices at hindi, or wala dun sa napili nila yung tamang yung tamang letter as input, then kailangan maglo-loop through daw ulit sila hanggang sa tama na yung sagot ni customer. So, the loop will stop once the user entered the correct choice. Or, pwede nyo namang gawa ng solution yung second situation for the user to enter another choice or menu. For example, diba, nakapili na siya ng A, B, C, D na menu. Now, for example, kung ang customer ay natapos ng pumili, pwede daw kayong magkaroon ng option kay customer kung gusto niya uling pumili ng menu. So, alin man dun sa dalawa, ang pwede niyong gawa ng solusyon. So, ito, kailangan yung paliin ngayon kay for while or do while, at yung tamang iteration para sa dalawang situations na to. And again, group activity po ito, same group as before. So, create a Google Drive for your group. Meron na kayo niyan, doon nyo na lang isi-save yung inyong activity. This time, activity to na yung folder nyo. Then, kailangan kong makita sa loob nun yung notepad at yung screenshot na sample output ng inyong ginawa. So, andyan ito, technically is this Friday. But since hindi ko ito na i-discuss on time, dapat kahapon, I'm giving an extension already of your activity. So, this is going to be due on Sunday, 11:59 p.m. For questions, kung may clarifications kayong gustong tanungin, please message me on my Facebook Messenger. Actually, dun sa group chat na lang para mas madali kong makita. So, that's it for this lesson. And thank you. Don't forget to upload your activity individually in the LMS. Actually, yun lang link, no? Same link lang naman bawat isang miyembro ng inyong grupo. Bye! Bye-bye, anak! Bye-bye!